I think it's actually, hold on. No, pause that. Go there. Go live with that. And hey, everybody. Welcome to tuning into the program. My name is James. With me is Chris, and this is Fuelstopchats. It's a podcast where we talk about, well, anything. We try to talk about motorcycles, but not always. So tune in, enjoy, and hope you like it. All right, so did that sound jumbled? Or was it clear the whole way through? Because it seemed like I got sort of kicked back a little bit. It's sort of like it stumbled, like it skipped.
It sounded great here.
All right, good. I'll edit that part out then. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another adventure. I actually hit record this time, and I'm double checking it to make sure. Let me put on my glasses. Hold on.
Drum roll, please.
Yep. They're wearing 1 minute in. All right, so last week, or 2 weeks ago, depending on when I actually put this together and upload it and send it out, we decided to get back into the podcast. We'd taken a couple years off, and we hit it running, maybe. We went straight into it, hardcore, and Chris had taken a pretty epic trip, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to appreciate this, and a lot of people that are going to tune in for the first time are probably going to tune in just to hear this one, because it's a bucket list thing. Chris was able to make it out to Alaska, and he regaled a story of just incredible odysseys, and just it was just absolutely epic. And then I realized I had not hit record, so we missed all of it. So I'm going to tune out because, shit, I've already heard the story. But I will let Chris say it all again, and I'm going to smoke a cigar. But, Chris, tell us about going to Alaska.
Well, first of all, you can't completely tune out. I got to have somebody to talk to. But I can't quit laughing about last week because
Oh, God.
it was so fun, first of all, to get back to it. Second of all, to get back to it twice in one night because the first take was not recorded was a pretty good chuckle. So it's good to be back, and it's good to be.
It was a practice run. It was just a warm up that I wanted to make sure that you were good to go. With all the mic issues we had and everything else, I figured, well, I'm just going to play this guy along and let him go through a story and get back on the horse. And
yeah,
it's not really what happened, but
it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I hope the people listening have as much fun listening to us.
Shit, I hit the wrong button. You see? Let me close that window. There we go.
There's new toys, man. Inspector Gadget strikes again. Here's the thing that cracks me up. For those of you that don't know, or maybe you do know, James, if you're listening, guy. But for those that don't know, James is a guy of many interests and many talents. Very eclectic in his.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So,
Jack of many trades, absolutely master of none.
Well, but jumping on airplanes, you did get a master's tab, so
yeah,
there's one thing you're the master at, certifiable, right? But anyway, back to the Inspector Gadget thing. If you ever go on a long trip with James on a bike and you need something, it's like when we were kids watching Monty Hall on Let's Make a Deal, right? He would say, I'll give you $100 for a paper clip. Mm-hmm. And James would be like, which size? Okay, he goes to the next lady. All right, I'll give you $50 if you have a 90-degree offset for a fuel pump. James is like, which size? So when you open up,
what kind of screws you want to go with that?
Yeah, when you open up the trunk on the bike, there's no clothes in there. It's gadgets, and it's fun for me because having worked with him for years and then having helped him build a shed and watching his handyman skills, it's not a surprise to me at all that there's a finger poking and a button clicking going on over there. Oh, killing me.
Duct tape and baling wire, baby. You can't fix it with that. It can't be fixed.
Speaking of Alaska and duct tape and baling wire, you actually made it home for real with tie strips.
Yeah.
Tie straps. You had zip ties. You had ratchet straps. You had duct tape. You had a homemade throttle control.
With a coat hanger.
Yeah, with a coat. I mean, so that's another trip. I don't know if did we ever talk about that much?
I don't know. That was from Bend, Oregon, back to Tampa, Florida. Just that bike. That's just, that's the power of a BMW.
And sun glare.
Yeah. Anyway, Alaska. We're talking about Alaska.
I know.
We're talking about you, not me.
Trip to Alaska.
That was my trip to Alaska, yeah.
Yeah, we could segue into my trip to Alaska, which started off with a great flight to St. Louis to meet up with my cousin. Every 2 years, we try to do a really nice, kind of a bucket list trip. We've hit about, if somebody said, give me the top 25 rides in America, we probably hit 30 of them. And I told him the other day, I said, hey, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at our routes and realized we rode past an epic ride and missed it. So this next trip that we take, Terry and I, it's going to be called The Roads Not Taken. And I'm literally going to map out all of the places because we've covered a lot of territory. I'm going to map out all the places that we've covered that we rode right past something that was, noteworthy or great ride or whatever. So Terry and I connect in St. Louis, and then we fly together to Seattle, and then Seattle to Anchorage. We get to Anchorage, and for those of you that are going, you didn't ride from Pennsylvania to Alaska, you only have so many days off. You got to do what you got to do. Yep. Plus, we were riding to Deadhorse. And there was no way in the world that I was going to take my GTL, the white one, up the Dalton Highway. Just not going to happen. I've seen it done, and I saw a terrifying video where you could literally hear the guy's voice quivering, and you know the 1600 because it's got this very distinct sound, and you realize this guy is on Adigan Pass on a K1600, and it's terrifying. And you just watch the guy like roll forward, dump the bike, roll forward, dump the bike. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not about it. That and the sodium carbonate stuff that they spray all over the roads as they're trying to build the road layers. I've heard guys tell stories, I rode my bike up there 10 years ago and I'm still washing that gray mud crap out of my bike. So anyway, for us, it was a good deal. We went up there. We picked up some adventure bikes, really nice GS 750s, which, by the way, if you're looking for a nice, lightweight, go anywhere, do anything bike, that joker's got it going on.
Did you have a GS 750? No, you had the 1250 when we did
Mexico.
Baja.
Yeah.
But didn't you have, what was the one where you had?
The 650.
It was a 650. It had the ammo cans for
side bags.
Panniers.
We went to, that was our trip to
Arizona, wasn't it?
No, we were in Texas riding the hill country.
That was Texas, that's right.
And we showed up to get we were doing a flying ride, and we showed up to get the bikes, and the guy walks out and he goes, hey, James, here's your bike, and walks James out. James sees exactly what he was expecting to see.
Perfect.
Hey, Chris, let me walk over here and talk to you a little bit. Okay, where's this going? So the BMW RT that I was supposed to be renting got wiped out literally the night before. And he goes, but I've got a sweet replacement for you. And he walks over and he shows me this BMW 650, ammo cans for side bags. And he goes, you're going to love this little bike. And I'm thinking to myself, I've ridden an RT, and that's a go-getter, man. What is this? And so I remember us going all over. We did the Twisted Sisters, Hill Country. We went down to Big Bend, That's
Yeah, we did the national park on that trip.
national
Yeah.
park down there. And anyway, I remember getting back from that trip after, I don't know, a couple thousand miles,
Oh, you
and
were sold.
dude, I was like, I love that little bike. He
You
was
were
right.
sold.
I had a blast. So anyway, we had the newer 750s, all the TFT and everything. It's just a really sweet bike. Rode it a little bit on pavement, not a lot, but it's a load of fun on the pavement, and it took me a while to get reacclimated to the gravel. I grew up in Missouri and used to ride gravel roads all the time. And my cousin's like, "What's the matter with you, man?" He's like, when you were a kid, you'd tear up down gravel roads like your hair was on fire. And I was like, I don't know. I think it's because rolling a bike and having my pants cut off at the knees and permanent scarring and, from a gravel road. But after about 5 days or so, you just get to this point where it's like the bike's going to jiggle, and it's going to do its thing, and you just let it fly and go, whatever.
There's a thing for me, like it's the weight. So
Oh, yeah.
when I had the KTM and I would go, I'd go up a gravel road with switchbacks and not think twice about it. Just drop the foot down, turn it, go.
Yeah.
It's not a lean. You're
No.
not leaning it. You're
No.
turning it. You're riding it. You're scooting the ass end around by hitting
You're
that
drifting
accelerator.
on the
Yeah,
curve.
you're
Yeah.
sliding it. When I have, it could be a 350 KTM, or let's say it's a 350 Shadow. When you're on that street bike, that weight is different. The balance is different, and your setup and the ride, you're looking to lean that bike more. You're not really looking to slide it around and throw it around with your knees. You're looking to use more of your hips and and just moving it. That, yeah, I get terrified riding in the dirt on something that's not made for the dirt.
100%. Yeah, it's like taking that bike down a gravel road. That's a terrifying endeavor. But that I gotta say, then the GS 750s that we had were, and you're talking about my cousin who is a diehard I won't ride anything but a Harley guy.
Yep.
And when we got about halfway into the trip, he's like, "Dude, that BMW," he said, "that thing is sweet." So,
So I wanted to ask you what Terry's thoughts were on a BMW, because the only time that he says BMW is when he's eating alphabet soup, because he won't ride anything but a Harley.
never, never, and won't wear and didn't wear anything but jeans and a t-shirt. Even in Alaska, everybody's like, "Where's all your gear?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? This is how I ride always." And
To each their own.
you know what? He enjoyed the ride just as much as everybody else did.
Yep.
And by the end, it was like day 2 or day 3. One of the guys came up to us and said, "You guys ride a lot together, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, we've covered a lot of miles together." And he goes, "You could tell you guys are pretty tight," because he said, "You are where the party is. Wherever the two of you guys are, that's where you want to be, because that's the jokers are over there." But anyway, we get into Anchorage, and I think it was about 9 p.m. Everybody, both of us were kind of like, "Man, I could some cold, refreshing beverage would be great." And we rolled our bags into the bar, and because they said they were going to close soon, and Terry was like, "Well, I want to get a beer," and so the guy was like, "Well, you know what?" He goes, "Close is kind of a loose term." So, okay, well, that's cool. He's willing to work with us. So we ordered 2 apiece, and I had the bourbon. He had a beer, and we went outside. And it turns out that the hotel is overlooking the number 2 float plane landing area in the world. I mean, these float planes are coming in and out like mosquitoes. I mean, we'll get to the mosquitoes, but a lot, frequently. Mm-hmm. And so we had these 2 really cool big Adirondack chairs. We're sitting there having a beverage. Sun's just kind of right over the horizon there, and nice pink planes are coming in. It's really warm, really, really great weather. And we sat there and was talking. A couple of guys that were going to be riding with us came up and introduced themselves, and we talked. And And one guy, after a while, says, "I'm going to head up because I gotta get some sleep. We got an early start tomorrow. We got a lot of miles to cover." And by the way, 350 miles on a dirt bike, off road, I'll say gravel and dirt and mud and
It's a
whatnot.
long day.
It's a long day. So I said, "Yeah, what time is it? Like 9:30, 10 o'clock?" And he goes, "No, it's after midnight."
Yep,
Oh yeah, you're in Alaska. It gets
I'm gonna go down.
Yeah, 20 minutes, you're going to get dark. So anyway, we get to bed, we get up the next morning, we get all our gear, we go over, we pick up the bikes, we do the inspections, everything looks great. And the guide says, "Hey, we've got a great day laid out for you. We're gonna move toward the Denali Range. We're gonna ride, kind of in front of the Denali Range. We're gonna take these back roads and get a chance to see the mountain. If the weather's cooperating and everything, and so first day was just kind of getting used to the bike, getting used to the gravel, and getting on down the road, but the scenery was epic. And we got to our first stop for the night. Pretty decent accommodations, really. First night, good dinner, good accommodations. Got up the next morning. We were taking off, and we're going up this pretty sizable hill. And there's a big pull-off area. We all stop and turn. The guy says, "Turn around, and look," and what? There's the Denali Mountain. Just epic scenery. And the sky was, perfectly blue. It couldn't have been better weather. And if you're riding like I do with a full face helmet, the dusty road doesn't really bother you. You just don't bother you. And everybody spreads out. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's riding and eating the other guy's dirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like take off. I'll give you space. You do what you got to do.
What tour company did you guys use?
It was MotoQuest.
Okay, that's who we used with the Baja when we went down to Baja. Okay.
Yeah, we rented the bikes from MotoQuest that had the Alaska plates in Mexico. Everybody, wow, you guys rode down from Mexico? Well, sure we did. They didn't need to know we picked the bikes up in Long Beach. Anyway, we took off. First day was pretty uneventful. Second day, made it up around the Denali Range, and we got over to Talkeetna, maybe, I can't remember the name of the towns. Good another night stay. Then we hit Fairbanks, and in Fairbanks we were at a hotel, really nice, but Fairbanks is, it's a smaller city, and he's starting to go through the whole, hey, for the next 4 days, this is what you can expect. And he gets to the part where he says, and Deadhorse Camp is a dry camp. And literally everyone kind of shuddered and said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's a dry camp." And he goes, "But don't worry, we're going to have the big chest type cooler, we'll have some stuff in there." And Terry looks at me and he goes, 4 days, huh? How much beer do you think he could put in that cooler?
You better get a trailer for that.
I was like,
truck.
Yeah, I was going to say you might need another trailer for you guys that like beer. But there were 2 or 3 of us that didn't like beer that much and would prefer to have something else. So we went over to the package store and we got our stock, and the driver agreed to put that inside the cab and take, good care of it.
Nice.
And we left Fairbanks, and everybody's really excited. You could feel the energy. We're going to get on the Dalton Highway. It's going to be awesome. And 10 minutes into the Dalton Highway, you realize highway is a misnomer.
Yeah.
It's not a highway. And, the dry, hard-packed gravel roads that we've gotten accustomed to have faded into the distance. And so you're going to go through a mix of sloppy, snotty, muddy, thick muddy, hard pack muddy, hard pack on sunny days. It's there's even a couple spots where they had some pavement. Where there's pavement, there's chuck holes that could swallow a Volkswagen. But other than that, yeah. And then you're going to hit days, where it rains and that hard pack and that little that little layer of dust becomes 3 inches of just soup on top of. It's like I told somebody it'd be like taking jelly and putting it on top of a hard glass tabletop, and then trying to maneuver through the jelly. There were a couple of those days, or when the trucks pass you by with the sodium carbonate, and they're spraying the roads to start, either A, hold the dust down, or B, they're going to start moving layers, and such. And then you hit a construction zone, which I found amusing on a dirt road, on a gravel road, muddy road. I'm like, construction? Like, how bad can this get? You find out how bad it gets. You get behind a tractor trailer and he's making ruts that are, I'm not exaggerating, a foot deep. And you're just praying that, I'm just, once you're in it, you're in it, and you just, but the problem is the damn lead vehicles, they want to go at like 4 miles an hour. So you're doing everything you can to just bike momentum enough that you can hold the bike up, through the crap. You can't stand up on the pegs, crank it up, and just freaking ride. You can't do that, and so you're really confined in what you can do because of the slow speeds of the guide vehicles. And we tried talking to them. We tried asking them to go a little faster. We tried everything, but they're going to go with the pace they're going to go.
So how slippery was it with tires? And when you're walking, as we've all been in construction zone or just in traffic where we're walking your motorcycle. Was there issues where you guys dropped anything or, feet flying out from underneath you because it's so slick?
Yeah, the first day everybody traversed the construction zone, made it into Coldfoot. Coldfoot is almost exactly halfway. And you get into Coldfoot Camp, and it's kind of like, Army barracks, but at least there's a shower in your room, and the food's pretty good. Gas wasn't bad. It was only $7.49 a gallon there.
Oh, that's not
yeah, and
California prices.
And they had a bar. You could sit outside on the patio and have a beer and talk about the day and reflect on the ride. You leave Coldfoot, and unless you have a GSA or something with a really big gas tank, it's a pretty good piece to try and make it on fuel. So we had planned, they were carrying 5-gallon jerry cans, and they were going to top us off when we stopped for a sandwich, and that's how we managed that. You can duck walk the bike through the mud. If you get stuck in one of them ruts with the truck, your bike's sitting down so below it makes even a short guy feel like he's long-legged because
Exactly.
look at how much of the dirt it's right there. We took off from Coldfoot though, and again, epic weather day. You really could not have asked for better weather to do the trip in July. It was amazing. We get to Deadhorse. We had a great evening. We learned a lot about the camp up there, rules and regulations, and how freaky deaky they are about germs and spreading of germs and all that kind of stuff. Putting booties on to get in line and dishing your food out. The buffet line, you got to put a clean glove on every time you touch something, but it gave you a real sense of what the guys go through and gals go through that live up there, and work those oil fields. And the next morning, they took us in a bus because it's private property owned by the oil companies. You go through a security checkpoint. You give them your driver's license, and da-da-da-da-da. And the van and the guide take you out to a spot where you can get out of the van and actually go get into the Arctic Ocean. You get your Polar Bear Club certificate.
Nice.
The water was about, I think they said the water was like 32, 33.
Nope.
It's real salty, so it don't freeze. So 30. Well, I'm at 32. And it was warm that day. It was like 50 that day. So you fall out in a 32 when you stand up in a 50, and
Well, here's the question. So, did you plunge?
No.
Did you put your toes in?
Oh, I walked out there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because people are like, you plunge into it. I'm like, there's no difference of me putting my whole body into it or me putting a finger into it.
There
I
were a couple
still
of guys,
touch the water.
there were a couple of guys that did the whole Nestea plunge thing. I'm not sure if they were asked to do it again. They do it twice, but the guy was telling us it was crazy because everything is trucked to Deadhorse. That's why this Dalton Highway is so important. They can't get a boat close enough to shore because that shelf, the water's only like waist deep for, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile offshore.
Really?
Yeah, and it doesn't drop off and get real deep until you're way out there. So there's no real practical way to build a dock or anything for big ships to haul stuff in. So that's why the trucking of everything that's there has been trucked there.
I'm surprised they never dredged it out.
Well, I mean, you can't.
Or is
So
that
when
rock
you,
shelf?
yeah, it's continental shelf. I mean, it's rock. It's
It's granite. Okay.
not sand. You know what I mean? It's and you notice it too because as you're riding up there, when you leave Coldfoot, there's a really cool pass called Adigan Pass, where you're climbing up a couple switchbacks and then down the other side. Pretty, it's bigger than it might be 2 inch, but real thick and loose gravel. So it was an interesting climb up the hill and down the hill. It was really dusty on that day, and 3 tractor trailers go by, and you can't see the speedometer on the bike. I mean, the dust cloud just whites everything out. So you're scared to death. You can't be seen. They can't see. You can't see the. I mean, it's an interesting trip. But
Yeah, I mean, I figure they know that you're there, but they don't really want you there.
they don't care. And they told us too. You hear a truck coming, it ain't like when you're on pavement and you just speed up and leave the tractor trailer behind. These guys are doing 65, 70 miles an hour, and they don't care. Mud, snow, sleet, they just roll. And he said they don't want you in the way, so don't be in the way.
Yep.
So anyway, we left Deadhorse, started coming back to Coldfoot. There's an 18-mile construction zone. On the way up, there were a couple of bikes that got dropped. It was so bad because it was frustrating because it was so muddy that you couldn't put your kickstand down to get off your bike to go help your buddy pick up his bike because your bike would fall over.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And so there we are. This guy's, ass over 10 cups, over the handlebars, lost it. And we couldn't do anything but like, what are we going to do? We can't get off the bike to help him. And the construction workers are kind of just standing there. There's like 10 guys standing, typical construction zone. 10 guys don't appear to be doing anything. Like, you think one of them would come over and help? Nope. We had to wait until the vehicle behind, that was our trail vehicle with the spare bikes, caught up and he could get out of the truck and run up and help the guy. And the guy was pissed. Like, why didn't you get off your bike and help me? Like, dude, what am I going to do with mine?
yeah.
Like, literally, the kickstand, I tried twice. You put the kickstand down and the bike just falls over immediately. And now you're in the soup and you're trying to pick your bike up. And anyway, we had a heck of a guy with us that rode the trail vehicle. I mean, he was a really great guy. If I go back to Alaska, I will definitely look him up and go have dinner. I mean, he was a really solid guy. And he helps the guy get the bike up. It was both of them were GSAs, 1250s.
That's some weight.
It's a big bike. But anyway, we got through that and got up to Deadhorse. On the way back, they stopped us and they said, "Hey, we learned something from you yesterday. Watching you guys go through here." He said, "Just wait. We're gonna fix you a spot." And so they took a road grader and they kind of scraped off the soup, and then they took the roller machine through there and hard packed a path, and it ended up being like 1.5 feet wide, but it was solid, And so and then where we had to change sides of the road, just follow the rolling machine, man. Basically is what they told us, and they got us out of there pretty good. So nobody had any upsets on the way back. We had such good weather on the way back, and there's no way to get lost. Well, there was a way to get lost. But you, we had a couple that missed a fuel stop and ran out of fuel because they didn't see the turnoff there. It's where the bridge with the potholes is at. It's a wooden bridge with wooden decking and potholes. So yeah. The bridge is made of wood, the decking's wood, and the wood rots out, and it makes these, big potholes. And it's not as easy as you think to just buzz across this wooden bridge.
I wasn't thinking it was easy.
Yeah, it was something you had to pay attention to what you're doing, because you also had the timbers that are not exactly the same, so it grabs your wheels and everything. But they told us like, hey, we're going to Coldfoot. You were there yesterday or day before yesterday. Go back to Coldfoot, same camp, same setup. Get your fuel, check in, get your room, get your food, whatever. So Terry and I decided like, hey, we didn't stop for photos. Like, I'm not going to do this whole ride and not take a crap load of pictures.
Well, yeah.
So we said, look, we'll be there before dark. It don't get dark. So, we'll be there sometime tonight. And everybody kind of spread out, and that's what everybody did. And so the group got really, really spread out, after we hit our fuel stop and we knew we had fuel to get to Coldfoot. What Terry and I did was I said, look, man, if I'm riding and I see something that looks like a really cool picture, I'm going to stop. And then if you see me, just roll on out and you stop at the next one, and then we'll combine our photos and we'll just leapfrog each other on the way back. So that's what we did. We had an amazing ride back.
Wait a minute. You went on a motorcycle ride and you don't have 10,000 photos of your bike with something behind it?
Yeah, like that.
Well, I've never been on a motorcycle ride. I mean, I have just folders of video and pictures of my motorcycle with like a mountain behind it, or my motorcycle and some kind of waterfall off in the distance. But interesting. Okay.
Well, so this picture, where this is, because this was when we stopped. Me and you were on a ride out to the Valley Fire, and I edited out the motorcycle antenna that was over in the corner.
Yeah,
it was my little Easter egg to prove the bike was there, but the picture was so exquisite. It was like, just take the picture. And then this picture here was in Montana, coming back from Glacier National Park. I don't know what. Oh, the Harley picture is just a snowy driveway. Somebody was asking me about riding in cold weather. I was like, as long as the roads are dry, why not? So anyway, we did a lot of picture taking on the way back. The weather was super. The sky was as blue as could be. Went to bed that night. Woke up. It was pouring down rain. I mean, toad choker.
Well, here's the thing about a good downpour in Alaska. At least you're not getting eaten by mosquitoes.
Dude, I think to say that there were a lot of mosquitoes and that they had a voracious appetite is actually an understatement. You can't tell people how bad the mosquitoes are because it's not believable. It's like, oh, they're not that bad. But they are. I mean, like this was the actual hat from the trip that I would put on during breaks,
Beachkeeper.
Oh man, you don't jack around with these guys, man. I mean, they're nasty critters. But I would take my glasses off, I put my freaking hat on, pull my net down, and then we could stand here and have a conversation, And this was how you took breaks.
Nope.
Some guys tried to pull these down over their helmet. I found that to be a little tricky. My center sticking out, and it wasn't that great. But anyway, this is how we ate lunch. Whenever we would stop and grab a water, take a pee break, whatever. You threw this bad boy on, or you left your helmet on. You just didn't mess around. And you take your gloves off. You better have some instant off something to spray on there immediately, or any exposed skin is just going to get hammered.
That's insane.
It was amazing. But yeah, so we we got the pictures by the famous Dalton Highway sign and, all that cool stuff. And, but we got up at Coldfoot and we were coming back. I felt bad for these guys who were on Harleys that had made it that far. The weather was great. And then they were like, we're stuck. We're not going any further with this weather. And they actually were going to try to leave Coldfoot to go back to Fairbanks before the front moved in. And I was like, man, you guys are 300 miles, 350 from. I mean, it was a bummer. I could tell they were pretty disappointed, but
It's crazy riding a Harley all the way out there. I mean, I hats off to them if you want to ride like that, but
yeah,
I just
there were a couple spots, bro, where you're going around this curve at like 30 miles an hour, looking at your taillight. And there's nothing you could do about it. Nothing you could do about it. Just ride it out. Knock on wood, Terry and I, neither one dropped our bikes the entire trip. I mean, God bless it. He blessed us with that one. We didn't have any. We saw a couple guys, more than a couple guys, go, head over heels. But we were coming back from Coldfoot. The rain kind of let up a little bit. It didn't quit, but we were going up this mountain, and there was this certain point where I don't know if the mountain got in the clouds or the clouds got down in the mountain or what, but everybody that I could see in front of me disappeared.
yeah.
And I literally couldn't see 10 feet. It just complete fogged out. And so, you pull the visor up, you're trying to defog, because even though I have Penlock shield, my glasses fog up.
Yeah.
So now it's the decision of, do I need my glasses? Like, really, do I need them? Or do I just take them off, stick them in my pocket, and pull the visor down because it would stay clear and just roll on? You can't have the debate too long, because here comes a tractor trailer and you're just sitting there dead meat.
Yep.
So, you turn your flashers on and you hope the guy can see your blinker in time to at least, know that he ran over you, so at least he could call your wife or something, right?
How many people die up there a year? Do you know? Do they say?
They gave a statistic, and I can't remember. It was something like 32 last year. I don't remember. It was more than a couple.
That's, I mean, there's not a lot of motorcycles that go up there.
I mean, the roads continue to get better. The more the motorcycles will make it up there. There are guys that make bad decisions.
Yeah.
There are guys that don't watch the weather. There's people that don't, they don't budget fuel right, or they don't know that there is the one stop between Coldfoot, or between Fairbanks and Coldfoot, where you can stop off and get fuel. So I stupid stuff happens, right? And if your bike breaks down, you might have a tractor trailer pass by, or it might be a while, But anyway, we came back through that rain and that fog, and all I can tell you is that when I got south enough that I actually got back on the pavement right before Fairbanks, there is this feeling of elation. Like, I'm on a bike
back on tarmac.
I'm on a bike with knobby tires. It's pouring down rain, and I'm stoked that I'm on pavement.
Oh yeah.
There, it's just a big sloppy mess. When it rains, all the nice, it just goes out the window. Now
I felt that when we did Baja, because we went down Baja on the eastern side through, around the Gulf of California.
Yep.
And I'm not playing on words of the Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico, the actual Gulf of California.
It's between the peninsula and Mexico.
So, and that was rough. That was some rough roads. We got in that night. It was February.
Disappeared.
Yeah, we got to that place that we stayed at down there at like
no heat.
I don't know, midnight, and it was pitch black.
Sand, foot deep.
It was just horrible. But I mean, we did 3 days on really, really rough dirt roads in Mexico, And when we got back on pavement, I was happy.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah. You feel like this really cool sense of accomplishment. You know, it was a bucket list ride for me for two reasons. One, it was the last state that I had to ride in. And two, I got to go all the way to the Arctic Ocean, which is,
Yep.
you passed the Arctic Circle sign a day ago. Like you're going further north. You just keep going north, right? So it was an amazing trip, and you know I don't know that I would do it again, but I would definitely ride Alaska again. You know, Alaska is
Gorgeous
just
up there.
it's unbelievable. And when the weather's nice, it's nice. I mean, we got to see some muskox and caribou and moose, and I mean, it was just beautiful. I mean, and why when you do that Dalton Highway, when you get away from those camps, other than that road, there's no sign that man's been there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing cool too is that you get these big mountains and hills and rolling hills and then you cross Adigan Pass and you got a couple of hills and then it slowly and the next thing you know it's just flat.
Yeah, permafrost, flat, nothing up there.
Flat for as far I mean you can see a long way and but again it has its own beauty too. But we got back to Fairbanks, and then that night we stayed at a place. They had natural hot springs,
Ooh.
and you could go sit in hot springs and have a cold beverage and chill out. The restaurant was fantastic. Food was amazing. And then we rode one more day before we went back to Anchorage, and then we had our farewell dinner as a group, and then the next day we all started loading up and flying back. But
How was it with riding with a group? So I've ridden with plenty of groups, and
we've organized group rides,
we've organized groups,
many
but
of them.
to be on a tour with, I mean, you rolled into it knowing Terry. A lot of people just roll into those things knowing no one.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Now I'm more of an introvert than you are. You are very much more of an extrovert than I am. I would just be like, yeah, I'm going to grab my bourbon and cigar, and if there's a fire, great. If not, I'll start one if I can. If nothing, just leave me the fuck alone. But how was it for you going on this with, 10 complete strangers?
Somebody had asked me this before, and I'll tell you, you'll get this. We call this podcast Fuel Stop Chats because we wanted it to be about the things that riders talk about when they stop for fuel.
Yeah.
All right. You're at a truck stop or a big plaza. You're stopping for fuel. You're sitting there with a cup of coffee. Another bike pulls in. Is there a conversation?
Always.
So you get 10 people that you haven't met before, but you all have at least one thing in common. You ride motorcycles.
Yep.
So that's your already built-in icebreaker. And it was a fun group, dude. We had a banker, we had a retired cop, we had a married couple from the East Coast. We had a guy that rode his GSA from Florida. Steve rode from Florida to Deadhorse on his own bike. Yeah. We had, let's see, who am I missing? I got to tell you a funny story real quick. So, you remember when we rode in, we did the ride to meet for the 1600 group?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Doug had the GTL with the Russell Daylong seat on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Doug and his son rode to Gettysburg and spent the day with me on the battlefield.
Okay.
He has switched over to a GS, and him and his son had gone up the Dalton about 2 weeks. They were 2 weeks ahead of me.
Oh, wow.
And so one night when we had Wi-Fi, I'm looking at my phone, and he sends me this note, and he says, "Hey, me and Tater left you a gift on top of this post at the Arctic Circle sign." I'm like, Okay, cool. So we get to the sign. It was Dalton Highway sign. Anyway, we get to the sign. It's pouring down rain. I'm in my rain gear, and I told Terry, I said, "Hey, two guys rode up here and rode back and said they left me a little gift on top of this post." And I'm five.
Go.
I'm 5'8.5". Like I need some help. Let me get. So it's pouring down rain, and Terry's a good sport. A couple other guys were like, "What are you trying to do?" And I was telling them, and we had one guy with us, good dude, North Carolina, I think is where he's from. But anyway, he's tall. And I said, "Here's what the deal is," and he goes, "Well, we got to find out what's up there." And so, the group organized, and we got off, and it was a smashed up beer can. So I have this really cool picture of me standing in front of that sign holding this beer can. But I got it, and it just made the trip nice, and it made a connection to a couple of guys I knew that I wasn't even riding with, but we shared a mutual experience, by hiding.
Motorcycle geocaching.
Yeah, exactly, and it was geotrashing.
Geotrashing.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was it was great. We had first day, everybody gets on their bikes, and you got to kind of figure out who's what, who's who, who's going to ride how are they going to ride. You got your the GS Giant guys that just they ride like their hair's on fire when it's dirt and mud, and you get the guys in the middle, and then you got the guys in the back, but there was no shortage of great conversation. Everyone to a person was, good people. And it reminded me a lot of rides you and I have been on at a fuel stop somewhere when somebody stops to chat. I still think about the mayor of Circle K in Arizona when the bike broke down. And there were tons of people who came over and talked to us.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it could have been because of the booming music. It could have been because of the cigars. It could have been because some guys hiked up the road and got some beer. I don't know. Or it could have been the bikes. But you know what?
It wasn't. It wasn't the Mexican food because those sons of bitches left us and went to go eat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a story for yeah.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that one in a past podcast. If you're new, we have a lot of other episodes. Take a listen.
Yeah, no doubt. But I got to tell you, man, if you haven't ridden up the Dalton Highway and ridden up to Deadhorse, take your bike, rent a bike, whatever. Get yourself up there because it is definitely one to check off the list. No doubt about it. So I like I said, I could go on and on and on. Every day there was something, right? But it
stopped recording about 20 minutes ago. I'm kidding.
I looked this time.
No, that's a great story, and I'm glad that you were able to share that with us. Looking forward to some pictures. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting some other people on here, or that you had traveled with before. Maybe get a little story from them. But
yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure Joe. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got lots of video. He tried to video like the soup we were in, but it just doesn't translate real well on film.
Yeah.
Just how crappy it was. But yeah, I could shoot him a note. He's a Cali guy, so it's only 7 o'clock. Well, it's almost 8 o'clock where he lives, but it'd be easy for him to join one night. And he's a fun dude. I mean, fun dude. He shared a video in San Francisco in a driverless Uber.
Oh, hell no.
And to hear his story and everything about it, but to see Joe go from his climb riding gear to this investment banker, nice suit, and everything, it just lets you know, by the way, that people are people, dude, and motorcyclists, that's a barrier breaker,
I learned that at a very young age when I was living in South Dakota, in the Black Hills. Of course, you have, the Sturgis Rally. I was between the ages of 12 and 17 when I was there.
Oh, coming of age story.
We had, my mother owned a bar, and she met, these guys that would show up every year for Sturgis, these bikers. I mean, if you were to look at them, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go to the other side of the street. You
Yeah.
know, they had that
Stereotypical
look.
one percenters, yeah.
But it's like my mom's explaining to me. She's like, no, you don't understand. You see that guy right there? He's a train conductor. He's an engineer. He actually drives a train and makes a lot of money doing it. That bike outside, his other bike just died. He just went to the shop and bought a brand new one, cash. You see that guy? He's a lawyer. You see that guy? He's a doctor. They let their hair grow out. They grow out their beards and their mustaches for about a month, leading up to that first week of was it August? Yeah, first week of August, and that's it.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
We saw those guys with the $250,000 RV toy haulers stopping like 30 miles out of Rapid City and rolling their bikes out and then riding their bikes into
Oh, yeah.
Rapid
I
City.
saw a lot of that.
Yeah.
And joining in the cannonball run of Interstate 90 going across the
Dude.
state of South Dakota. That was one of the craziest rides. I've been on some crazy rides. I've ridden some really fast bikes, but the level of danger when you're doing the speed limit's 90, you're doing, or no, the speed limit I think
It's 80.
is 80,
But
but you're doing 20 over, so you're doing 100, and you have a semi passing you.
yeah.
It's
And don't
insane.
forget the 60-mile-an-hour crosswinds while you're doing
Well,
that.
there is that, or they just come up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting. I remember talking to you on the phone. I think you were in Nebraska at the time, and Terry and I were between.
Oh, I said, go find some back roads and avoid it.
We
It was
were
horrible.
we were Sioux City, Iowa, making our way across to Rapid City, and you were talking about it. All the roads going into Sturgis become a little nutty, but that was a fun experience too. I mean,
And then they become a log jam, and you walk
Especially-
the bike for an hour.
yeah, Needles Highway. Roll your bike forward a bike length, wait. And
All right, we need to wrap this up about an hour. Great story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hopefully, listeners are still here, and they haven't been like, Jesus, these guys are still fucking talking.
I gave you the condensed version. I was trying to go fast. But
That was the condensed version?
sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I'll
All right.
send you some pictures and video.
Let me see if I can get this closer to work for me here. Let me see. Let me go live. Don't turn off your camera.
No, I'm not moving.
Thanks again, everybody. Chris, write her out.
Right her out, brother. Love it, man.
Yep, good shit. All right, man. I'll work on this over the next week and get it out, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good, brother. Are you? It still says recording.
Yeah, I haven't stopped. I can